Any chance the football games this past weekend are actually overshadowed by Hilton Head High's tennis team's state title? Well, we'll ask Justin Jarrett.
It's time for Lowco Lights on WHHI, powered by LowcoSports.com, and it's time for the high school football playoffs. We had a full slate of 14 games involving Lowco teams in round one on Friday night, so let's get to the highlights.
Starting in Class 4A, Beaufort High School at home against Orangeburg Wilkinson as the Eagles try to get back to the state championship game for the second time in a row. Samari Bonds doing work. They bottled up Casey Fields for much of the night, but Samari Bonds with 3 passing touchdowns, including a pair to Colton Ferries. Andy rushed for 2 scores, and Beaufort's defense was on point all night long, shutting out the Bruins, getting home on the pass rush, and then Casey Fields got in on the action late, couple of touchdown runs as Beaufort rolls 52-0 over Orangeburg Wilkinson. The Eagles will be at home next week against Crestwood in the second round of the playoffs. Around the corner on the Isle of Ladies, Beaufort Academy hosting Orangeburg Prep in Skiza 2A, and it was a big night for Devontae Green. He gets it into the end zone for one of his 3 rushing touchdowns, over 220 rushing yards. Zeke Gonzalez with a big night, a couple of PATs on the ground, booted a couple field goals, and Devontae Green getting it back into the end zone one more time. Green had 3 touchdown runs, and here's Gonzalez with another 2-point conversion. Finding different ways to get him involved. He had 89 receiving yards and over 50 on the ground, but it was Devontae Green doing the dirty work and getting Beaufort Academy into the next round. They win it 36-23, and they will take on Colleton Prep next week in a rematch of an epic Week 9 battle for the region title. BA won the first one 20-19. They'll do it again Friday night on Ladies Island. Down to Class 1A, where Estel is all the way up to number 3 in the rankings, but the Gators had a fight on their hands. Huge game from Xavier Garvin, who rushed for 218 yards and a touchdown and passed for 225 yards and 2 more scores, but it was Jamaris Miller who saved the day. Miller already had a 50-yard touchdown reception from Garvin in the fourth quarter before Hannah Pamplico rallied to take a 56-52 lead in the final minute. But Miller took the ensuing kickoff 75 yards for a game-winning score as Estel survives and advances 60-56 and gets Carver's Bay at home this week. In Class 4A, May River came out on the wrong end of a tough 24-21 loss to Myrtle Beach, but the Bluffton Bobcats kept the Lowco alive in the bracket. Bobcats on the road at Westwood, and it was a nip-and-tuck game early on, 20-20. Just before halftime, before the Bobcats got it in the end zone to take the lead. But J.Q. Williams had a couple of rushing touchdowns, getting involved in the offense. Defensive star at linebacker. And Max von Hohenstraten had another massive night. 401 passing yards and 5 more touchdowns. This one to Ethan Golphin. Max von Hohenstraten with over 900 yards and 11 touchdowns in his last 2 games. Hooks up with Jalen Linder. Again, that guy's got a whole bunch of touchdown grabs this season. And he also had a long one to Brandon Bryant. And the Bobcats defense really got after it in the second half. Said it was tied 20-20. It finishes up 49-20 as Bluffton's defense throws the second half shutout, and von Hohenstraten and Linder were dialed in once again. Big win for the Bobcats, and Hayden Gregory, who marches on into the second round. They get a great opportunity to go on the road and take on number 1 South Florence next week in the second round of the Class 4A playoffs. Thomas Hayward is still in the mix for a 5th consecutive Skiza 1A title. The Rebels rolled 42-13 over Dorchester Academy and will host Calhoun Academy on Friday, but there will be no title defense for Hilton Head Christian Academy, as the Eagles lost a 43-36 shootout at home against Florence Christian to bow out of the Skiza 3A playoffs, despite 453 passing yards and 5 total touchdowns from Dylan Clark, who also rushed for 47 yards and 3 scores to go with TD passes to Morgan Bedenbaugh and Isaiah Anderson.
So half of our 14 teams will march on into round 2 next week. We'll have 6 must-win games, including 1 Lowco on Lowco clash. And we'll have you covered on LowcoSports.com and right here on WHHI. I'm Justin Jarrett. Until kickoff, Go Loco.